Hey all you Hillmaniacs, it's Hillmanator. Now, today, I'm sorry I can't edit this all together, but I just do not have time. Within an hour from now, I have to eat my dinner, wrap a present, and deliver it, and then I'm doing a whole bunch of other stuff to celebrate someone's birthday tonight, so I just don't have time. I am really sorry about that. But today, I will be looking at my essays, trying to work out what my teachers have said about them, and how I can improve, and just the general structure, I think. So this first one is my philosophy essay, and in this I got a B, which, considering it's my first ever essay at a university level, I'm not going to take umbrage with that. I think that's pretty good. Plus I had the word count quite low. The minimum words count that we were allowed was 1,350. I went 1,361, so I really scraped over the word count. It was more if you included quotes, but you aren't allowed to include quotes in a word count. So this essay was all about George Berkeley's theories and his ideas of creation, existence, and meaning. And basically, George Berkeley says that everything only exists within your mind, and as soon as you stop looking at something, it will stop existing. Now, I might go into more detail in future, because who knows, maybe I'll start a philosophy series. But that's all you need to know for the premise of this essay, because we were only looking at part of his writings. So basically at the start, I outlined who George Berkeley was, what his book was in the first paragraph. Then in my second paragraph I started praising him, and I said that it's basically impossible to think of anything that we don't understand as an idea, which is a strong piece of evidence for his case. Then I went on to say that all of his points build on from one another and that it becomes a logical series. However, my next paragraph was going to be the utter destruction of his theory, in my opinion. Basically, I began my counter-arguments by stating that if all of Berkeley's theories were true, it would be impossible to recover, discover, or birth anything. And then the next 3 paragraphs were me explaining that, and then I followed that up with a final argument that other philosophers wouldn't agree with Berkeley. I followed it up with the fact that other philosophers might argue that no matter how true Berkeley's treatises are, the theory is ultimately completely meaningless. And so basically, to start with, like I said with Berkeley's theory, if something isn't being observed, then it doesn't exist. So logically speaking, how can we come to observe something that we haven't observed before if it doesn't exist? That was the premise of those first 3 arguments against him. And then the one about meaning, I basically really leaned in to the teaching I had at A-level on the verification principle. So if you have philosophy at an A-level, or pretty much any subject, no matter what you do, don't just forget everything beforehand. It can be really helpful. So, like, I mentioned 2 other philosophers called Karl Popper and Anthony Flew, who technically were behind the falsification principle, but that's inconsequential. And then I tried to come up with Berkeley's counter to my points, before finally finishing off with a paragraph just saying where I fall on my opinion. So, considering all of that, I'm going to take a B quite well. Everything, he said that my general presentation was good, my structural and organisation were very good, my quality of argument and analysis were also good, content was less good but still good. My task, the ability to follow the task, apparently was quite good as well, and my quality of expression was good in this essay. Now, the next one that I did was my film essay. This was actually a film report. It was only around 500 words that we were allowed to use, and again I got a B. You will have seen me working on these two essays during my week in the life of video, but I mean, I'm quite happy with that. According to this, I addressed the question and developed a coherent argument. On average, I was fair with it, but I wasn't brilliant. Then I used appropriate examples and a range of reading quite well. Critical understanding of theories and methods apparently was also relatively good. And my full and accurate references and bibliography, oh boy, I mean, you can't see it on here, but there was one. We didn't have to include it in the printed version. But basically, according to this, my good points were that my argument is largely well reasoned and well written, and he enjoyed my observation about the way costume is used throughout the film to code characters, which I was watching The Curse of Frankenstein, and I had to do an analytical film report for this essay. So in this, I largely talked about the colour and I spent a lot of time on colour, costume, set, lighting, and and how the film uses something called generic verisimilitude, which is a film term, but basically it makes us understand the film through the lens of other films that we've watched before. Like, when you watch a Western, you don't think of the actual history of the Wild West. You think of how good a Western is based on what other Westerns have taught you. That would be generic verisimilitude in a second. It's longer than that essentially, but that's the really tight thing. So basically this essay was all about mise en scène, and he enjoyed my conversation about costume. He said I could improve by not making as many assumptions about how an audience might interpret a text, naming characters consistently, because not mentioning whether it's Frankenstein or Frankenstein's monster might cause confusion, and yeah, I do have to agree. Apparently my analysis can go further at times. I highlight a number of interesting areas of discussion and could afford to push your work a little more. And last but not least, my work loses focus a little towards the end. The final section perhaps needs rethinking and rewriting for greater clarity. So then we move on to my final essay, which was my religious studies essay. This was the only one where I didn't get a B. I got a C in this one, but I would still consider that good for a first attempt. Also, like I said, like we all know, this is my first year at university, so I'm not really surprised I'm not getting A's and A stars right now. There's a lot of very clever people here, and I'm smart, but I'm not that smart, I don't think. But this one, I was much closer to the regular word count. This one was a word count of 1,500 on average, minimum 1350, maximum 1650, and I got 1,494, so that's fair. And the question was, are men and women equal in Hinduism? Discuss in relation to one or more of the following female characters. And I discussed it in relation to Draupadi and also Sulabha. Sorry, that my mind went blank there. Yes, I discussed it in relation to Draupadi and Sulabha. Both characters from the Mahabharata. I butchered that pronunciation, sorry about that. But according to my seminar tutor, everything that I did was satisfactory. It was good enough, but I need to improve on pretty much all areas. My general presentation, structure and organisation, quality of argument and analysis, content, use of references, and quality of expression. Now, the reason why this and the philosophy paper have the same grading systems, but the film one doesn't, would be department-based. Each department will inevitably have a different way of grading essays. So Philosophy and religious studies are both in the PPR department with politics, so they all rank the essays the same way, but obviously film, not so much. So my tutor says the essay uses sources and scholars well, however it spends too many words asking general questions rather than answering the questions and critically analysing. Make sure for next time to be focused, Make sure for next time to focus less on description and more on my own argument. So that is my teacher's advice for me. I doubt that this has been very useful or very fun for any of you, but I'm going to be using this video. Essentially, I made this video more for me than for you guys, so yeah, but I will make a video in future covering basic essay tips and stuff, so that once I get good at it, I will make one. I'm not going to make one until I'm confident in my abilities and my tutors are confident in my abilities. But yeah, so I got a BBC overall, 3 essays, BBC. I'll take that for my first 3. I think could have gone far worse. Okay, thanks for watching all. I shall catch you next time.